The Alabama sportsman team are traveling around the state to take a look inside of the trophy rooms of some of the most interesting whitetail hunters in the heart of Dixie. From heart-pounding stories to giant bucks, welcome to the Alabama Sportsman's Trophy Rooms.
Hi, I'm Seth Johnson. Welcome to my trophy room. So we're going to start out, and I'm going to give you a tour and tell you some stories about some of these deer in here, but some of you may recognize this room because for about 10 or so years, my buddy Lamar Smith would open every Brush Country Monster episode standing right there next to that safe. So this room doubles as our production studio. So I've been a producer in the outdoor hunting industry, TV industry, for about 14 years now, and I've produced a number of different shows. I started out with a show called TNT Outdoor Explosion. I produced Brush Country Monsters for around 11 years. You may have heard of a long range show called Extreme Outer Limits. I actually created the whole brand for that. I started that show with Bob Beck when he first got into the industry. I was their producer for around 2 or 3 years, and then we closed down Brush Country Monsters, and Alan Robig and Lamar Smith and Larry Ellis decided to start out a new show called Precision Hunting TV, really based around precision hunting equipment and what it takes to shoot really big trophy animals all across the country. And so I've been a producer of Precision Hunting TV for 2 or 3 years now. And then of course my passion is turkey hunting. My friend Russell Knight, who's a cameraman and editor in the industry, he and I partnered together and created we partnered together and started Turkey Hunter TV, sponsored by Browning. So I've been involved with 5 different TV shows in the last 14 years, and as a result I have been able to hunt all over the world. I've been to Africa 8 times, New Zealand 4 times, Argentina, and I have hunted just about every big buck stake you can imagine, and I've been really fortunate. I've hunted high fence ranches, I've hunted low fence ranches, I've hunted a little bit of everything, and I've got a lot of great deer to show you. So let's start and take a look at some of these. These 2 up here on the very top are I would call them like my first really big bucks, because this one up here kind of kick-started it all. This was in Missouri, northern Missouri, real close to Iowa. That buck scored around 164 inches. First like big framed Midwestern deer. I got really excited when I shot that deer. This one right here to the left is from eastern Colorado, the plains of eastern Colorado. Matter of fact, I shot that about 400 yards from the Kansas state line. Made a 405-yard shot, and he dropped in his tracks, but that deer scores 170 on the nose. This is an Alabama deer right here. I've done a lot of Texas hunting, as you can imagine, Brush Country Monsters. The name comes from the famous brush country, and that's what they call the big whitetails in the area. So I've been very fortunate to hunt a lot of pristine South Texas ranches over the years, and so all these deer here are from South Texas, and I absolutely love how each one of them has their own unique look and feel. I've also hunted the hill country. There's a ranch there called the Johnson Ranch that I hunted for a number of years. That's where this deer came from, and as well as this deer. A lot of history with these deer. In fact, here's the sheds for that buck right there. So we watched him for several years, and then he was a perfect clean 10 point that year right there, and then kind of added a little extra trash. I think he was around 7 or so when we shot him. This This is my largest free-range buck to date. I actually shot this deer last year on Precision Hunting TV. Scored 176. You go out and watch that episode. It's on YouTube as well. But such a special deer, a big mainframe mate with all these different kickers on him. That came from the famed Novius Ranch. I've hunted that ranch for years and years, and that was first opportunity I've had at a deer of that caliber. This one up here, for the longest, it was my biggest buck. He scores around 175 on the nose. That one came from Illinois. And a buddy of mine that I went to high school with and we have he leased 120 acres and wanted me to go in with him. And we had no idea that buck was even in existence. And on opening day, he comes out chasing a doe, and I shot him with a 45 XML muzzleloader, and boy, I'm telling you, I came unglued on that one because, I was really there having a good time with my buddies, and we wound up shooting a booner, and it's just one of those types of hunts where you just, that's why you love it. You never know, but if I also get really excited, I'm telling you, when I don't get excited anymore, I'm gonna be done, and that's what I keep telling everyone. If that adrenaline rush goes away, then it's time for me to take up golf, right? But I got really excited on that deer, and if you go back and watch that episode, I was in full form. Let's just say that. That deer right there, 150-inch 8-point. That one came from Oklahoma. That's my one and only Oklahoma deer. Shot that deer in muzzleloader season in October, and I just really love how. Look at the cape on that deer versus this deer versus that deer. It just shows you how different all these deer look all around the country. Just all three of these, Illinois to Texas to Oklahoma, how each one of them has a completely different look to them. That's why I love hunting whitetail so much. They're so unique and so different. Each one of them, it's like a fingerprint. They're all different. Now, I've been to Africa. I said earlier, I've been to Africa 8 times. I've had the chance to hunt some big animals. This is an eland, which is the largest antelope species in the world. And shot this one in South Africa in the Limpopo. Funny story with this one, and my PH buddy, he didn't think it was so funny at the time, but long story short was that we were on a property where this animal, everyone knew it was there, so to speak, and it was one that wasn't supposed to be shot. So by that, obviously on bigger ranches, sometimes they want to let a certain type of genetic breed more, and so this one was supposed to be off limits. I didn't know any better, and I'm with my PH, and we were on a part of the ranch where we didn't think this one was hanging out, and we saw a big bull with some cows, and he told me, he said, shoot that one, and I did. And when we walked over there to him, it was the wrong one. So I'm ecstatic because he's a giant bull, but he's over there freaking out because we just shot one that was off limits, so to speak. But now he lives in my trophy room, but that ranch owner's still probably not so happy about that. But I do want to give a shout out to my taxidermist. My taxidermist is Ray Barber, and he's around Birmingham and a little town called Chelsea. And Barber's Custom Wildlife, and he does some incredible work. But I mean, if you look at all the detail and all these folds and all this stuff, they call this part the ruff. Believe it or not, the sign of maturity is not antlers; it's the thickness of the ruff. This big thing that shows up on their forehead and how dark it is. So really cool animal there. Tell you about some of the other animals we got up here. This was a bull Gims buck. Shot that one in South Africa too, and that one is a 40.5-inch bull Gims buck. So anybody out there that knows anything about Gims buck, that's a huge one. At the time, I think he was like number 80 in the world, or so to speak. But normally Females are the only ones that get that big. You can tell he's a bull because of how thick his bases are, but that's just a really cool one. The big animal, the one that's kind of overlooking the entire room, my Cape buffalo. That one's a real special hunt for me. Hunted with my good friend Sean Keeney of Sean Keeney Safaris, and I took my dad with me on this hunt. I knew he's not a hunter, or he was when I was growing up. He was a bow hunter. That's how I got into all this at such a young age. And but he hasn't really hunted in years and years. And he when I got into TV and traveling, he told me one day, he's like, I think I'd like to go to Africa with you on one of these trips. And I said, that would be fantastic. And so I arranged it, and I also decided I wanted to hunt a buffalo because he was going to be there, and it was just a special trip. And so we hunted Cape buffalo, had a great time. Obviously this was an episode of Brush Country Monsters 2, and it turned out perfect. And if you go and watch it, it was funny because he almost got charged by a younger bull, and it was cool. But made a real great shot with a 375 H&H, and then now we have this big buffalo. I'll show you something else that's really cool that I got out of this. So I consider this one of my other trophies. I took all the leather from the back side of this buffalo, and I got them to make me a custom gun case. So this gun case is made out of the leather from that Cape buffalo, which another thing I'm really proud of. Just the whole deal, custom handmade in South Africa from the leather from that buffalo. So I don't know if I'm going to use it that much because it's just such a special thing to me. So I keep it right next to my gun safe, and I love to tell that story about, hey, this was my buffalo as well. So on this wall, kudu, that was my first African animal I ever shot. That was back with the TNT outdoor explosion back in like I can't remember, 09 maybe, something like that. But that was from Zimbabwe in the Save Valley Conservancy. And over here we start a lot more of the whitetail wall. And if you look across the whole top, all of these are Novius whitetails. And so Novius Ranch was home to the Brush Country Monster TV show for years and years. This little guy right here, I say little because he kicked it all off. In fact, that's where I met Lamar Smith. I went to the Novius Ranch for a deer hunt, and I met Lamar. He was my guide, and we shot that deer as a management buck. And I think it's 14 years ago now, and that was the start to all of this. As a matter of fact, the very next years when we all kind of put our minds together and came up with the Brush Country Monsters TV show. But I blame that deer for everything. That's where I met Lamar. And then all these other bucks have been different episodes. Like this one right here, this was from the 100th episode of BCM. I shot that deer on the 100th episode. That one right there, that big dark chocolate horned 8. Lamar rattled that buck in. He came in about 15 yards and was just staring at me and nostrils flaring. We shot him and he dropped right in his tracks. This one right up here, Lamar's older son, which is actually my age, guided me on that one. So a lot of great history with all these bucks. Over here, now this whole wall in the back, a little bit of everything up here. I also love to hunt mule deer. We've got a good friend, Mike Zemek, who owns the Blue Rock Outfitters. We've hunted with him. This mule deer right here is 176. I shot that one with Mike. I was actually looking through some photos. Shot that one in 2010, so that tells you how long ago that was. This one, everyone asks me, is like, what was what's probably your most significant trophy in here? There are some huge whitetails, yes, but everyone, I think a lot of big game hunters realize how hard it is to shoot a Boone and Crockett mule deer these days. And so I shot this one. He scored 193 inches. And this one was from Colorado, and I shot it probably 4 or 5 years ago. That is one of my proudest animals in here. Made a great episode on BCM, and my buddy Darren Clifton was the cameraman on it. Turned out great. Up here on the top, we got New Zealand animals. We got everything from red stags to Arapara rams. Believe it or not, it's funny, everything in here I've hunted on TV except for one animal. And it's, if you look up there at the top, that little woolly looking thing, in New Zealand they call it the Bob Marley sheep, but that was shot by my wife. So the one animal in the entire trophy room that was shot by my wife, and believe it or not, that's the only time she's ever hunted. Like right after that we had children and she was done hunting. But that one will always stay in here because it was a great hunt and she was excited. She didn't understand why she was shaking. It was fun. But there's some water buck. There's 2 red stags from New Zealand. The one in the top middle is actually a red stag from Argentina on the famed Tipaluque Ranch. Red hartebeest. And then over here to the left, full body, is a Himalayan tar. That one was from New Zealand from way back in like, I don't know, 09 or something like that as well. But that was a 13.5 inch tar from New Zealand. We were up there filming a show for TNT, and we were there for 7 days, and the host and his wife had already filled all their tags and shot all their animals, and we had like 3 days left, and the outfitter said to me, he's like, hey, do you want to go shoot a tar? And I was like, you know, I'm a cameraman. And so he worked out a deal with me, and we went out to go shoot a tar, and lo and behold, we shot a mega giant 13.5 incher, which tar hunters know that's an absolute slob. And the rest is history. So now he's mounted on the wall. But it's been a great run. I absolutely love my little trophy room here. Kind of running out of space, but I do a lot of gun work too. I do a bunch of reloading. Now, my main passion is shooting the turkey birds. Okay, so Turkey Hunter TV, we started it in 18, I believe, and it is absolutely my passion. Everyone says if you had to choose an animal that you could only hunt, I would say it's the turkeys. And I've been lucky. I haven't shot as many as the old timers, but I've probably shot, I don't know, 60 or so in my time. But I tend to spend more time behind the camera than I do anything. But I absolutely love the interaction, and I love calling them in, and even if I don't pull the trigger, it feels like I'm part of it, you know. So to me, if you're just involved with a hunt, it's just so exciting. So it's been a good run. You know, I don't have a whole lot more room, but I'm gonna probably be more selective about things I mount in the future. But each year I go out and hunt a few deer. Just got back from Iowa a few weeks ago, shot a good deer there. Shot 4 bucks in Texas this year, and I've got one more hunt slated for next weekend at the famed Four Seasons Ranch. So yeah, but that's my trophy room, and thanks for coming along.